Hello everybody, it's day 13 of the Festive uploads, and this is my review of Series 10 episode 6 on the Zero of American The Return of Dr. Mysterio. Try and get this in, it's a 15 minutes video, so yeah, it's fairly light, so let's just go get into the plot of the car. The Doctor is in either the 80s or 90s New York. They don't specify when this is, but thanks to another thing which is related to this, like a comic or something, places this in around late 2000 or 2016, because they also mentioned something in, and that's not part. The Doctor sees a young boy. No, this young boy sees a Doctor swinging from the roof, and the kid lets him in eventually after, because his mom thinks, ha ha ha, right, okay, this guy's just pretending to be Santa, but no, it's the Doctor, and he gives him some cookies and some milk, and then the Grant takes him up, and then the Doctor shows this Grant this weird time distortion thing with his men to solve all the time distortion, which was caused in New York from the events of the Angels Take Manhattan, because the Angels were trying to, there was lots of paradoxes, and the Doctor was trying to make, the Doctor couldn't make a clear landing in that, but this, he was trying to finally resolve this, so yeah, and then he gives Grant water and a gemstone, but Grant thinks it's medicine, so he has it, and that gemstone was meant to use some the power of when you draw power from a star to do that. And when Grant swallowed it gave him, since he was a big fan of at least Superman and Batman, he then mentioned Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, there's some others in his room, but the other ones he actually talked about, he ended up becoming a superhero. And then cut to some point later on in his life. There's this thing at Harmony Show in the future. It's a company called Harmony Show, and yeah, they've got this, what's it, Dr. Sim is one of them. They've got Dr. Brock, Mr. Brock. Yeah, Dr. Sim takes Mr. Brock to this place where the brains. Oh yeah, Nardle's back, I should mention that. I don't explain this moment. Yeah. Dr. Sim takes Mr. Brock to this place where there's brains in jars, and then we find out that Dr. Sim has been infiltrated by something, a harmony. I don't know the actual name of is that the name of the species? Yeah, but yeah, they put their brain inside him, and they take Dr. Sim's out, put his in a jar. And basically, there's this woman called Jessica. I've just forgotten her first name. Lucy. That's it. Lucy Lombard. That's the name she goes by. Even though she's not married anymore. And she meets the Doctor, like, because she's spying in this conversation, and the Doctor's also spying in this conversation. It's not all. Comes and finds the Doctor once they've done that. And then Dr. Sim threatens to shoot them. There's knocking on the window on our floor. Grant, in his costume as a ghost, comes round and breaks the glass, and then pushes Dr. Sim into the wall. Yeah, that's, and then the ghost takes Lucy to her home via flying. That's like the first 15 or 20 minutes, and basically the rest of the episode is basically about the love story between Lucy and Grant and the ghost. It's sort of a love triangle, even though it's just, it's in a sort of way. It's like a mirror reflecting in that thing. So passing off, because Ghost and Grant are the same person. Yeah, and Lucy and the Doctor and Nardole all trying to work together to stop Omnishaw from invading the Earth. That's pretty much a thing. There's not much to say about that. Because our plan is to get this spaceship that they have from space, crash it at one half of New York, but not the half which that Homily Shore was on. That's why that one's not the capital city. But no, it's not. And then all the Marvel leaders will become running and will go for somewhere safe, which would be Homily Shore, and they put all the alien things in their heads and then take over the planet. So basically there's and then there's this interview, and Mrs. Lombard or Lucy Fletcher. Yeah, Grant's loved Lucy Fletcher for the rest since he's known her. Oh yeah, I should have mentioned this. Grant mentions he's known her since elementary school. In elementary school, I don't know what that is equivalent to here in the UK. Is that like, I don't know what ages that is. If anyone was to drop that down, that's fine. I'm assuming it's either late nursery, or it's probably primary school. I'm Scottish, so I don't know what the equivalent is down in England properly. I've got a vague understanding, but I'm not entirely sure. He's like, and when he met up with her again after school, she remembered him, and he was with a friend, and she fed hell over heels with his friend. They got married, and then she was pregnant, and he ran off with someone else. He didn't want to do anything to do with the baby, and he was looking after a baby from another man. Yeah, and there's basically this interview between the Ghost and Lucy, and it's meant to be professional. Like, what does the Ghost do? Like how's it like coping with a double life and that? Yeah. But they do resolve it in the end when they mention the baby's been taken. He has to fly off and then come back down to the building as in Grant, and says that no one touches that baby. And the Doctor and Ronald, by this time, they're up in the ship, and they crash it down. And the Doctor puts the sonic screwdriver in the sort of port thing to sort of like make that happen earlier, because it's not meant to happen then, it's meant to happen sooner. And then this is the only it goes to this real weird frequency that only Grant can hear, and he tells Grant, this is a bomb, you have to get rid of it. Shock absorber. So if it hits the ground, it will destroy half New York. So Grant deals with that, and that's basically the main plot done. The only really point of interest after that is that why the Doctor is sad, because everything ends, but everything starts again. That's happy. And then Nardole talks about River Song, and then he's not feeling happy right now. He's feeling sad, he's feeling down, but eventually he will get better. That is basically the plot. Let's go through the characters. The Doctor, he's trying to sort the time distortion, which that was causing Angel St. Manhattan. Tries to comfort Grant when he starts getting his powers, but is unsure of what will really happen, because he thinks it should pass, but he's not entirely sure. Drops in on him during his teenage years, as he feels that might react to puberty in a weird way. Finds out that Grant has an interest in Lucy. When he meets Grant in the present day, he is annoyed that he didn't keep his promise of not using his powers. Finds out that he is also the nanny for Mrs. Fletcher's baby. Miss Fletcher's baby, oh yeah. Miss Fletcher's her maiden name. Should have mentioned that. He asks Grant for the backstory, and says that it's something difficult to cope with 2 lives. Because the Doctor says even he thinks it's insane. for him to do that. And tries to save New York from the Harmony Shore, but he can't do it alone. He needs Grant's help. It's been 24 years since they last seen each other. Because, when he says to the doctor, like, I've known each other from elementary school, and he says something about 24 years, and then the doctor says, of course it would be. But I'm not sure whether that's digging at. Yeah, because it does explicitly say how old he is in the main event of the episode, but it does say he's 8 at the beginning. If it's from then, like, I don't know when elementary school starts or when he first met her. But yeah, it's 20, and that 24 years is referred to the last episode, which is Husbands of River Songs. Like, of course, it's sad as everything ends, and it's clearly referred to River's death, but can't bear to say her name. There's only from that. Sad. It'll be sad for a while, but we'll get better. And Nardole, cut out from hydroplanks by the doctor to help him grieve from the loss of River. It gives the doctor something to do to keep him distracted. You know what I mean? Tries to assist him, but the doctor shrugs him off, tells the doctor what he needs to know, and is able to fly the TARDIS. Maybe better, because the doctor tries to press a button, but Nardole says nah. Tries to console him, doesn't work. He's clever, but he's a bit slow. He's not as fast as the doctor. Doctor's like this, he's like... He does eventually get around to it. Tells Grant and Lucy about River Song and the impact of her death, and Ivy finally catching up with him. Because he even said this thing in the Heaven set when he was in the confession doll. Let's find the day someone dies. Got something to think about. It's the days they're dead. This is weird for the doctor, because in a weird way it is still a fact about River. I didn't really write anything for Lucy or Grant, because it would be here. But I can pretty much summarise it. Grant been in love with Lucy all his life, and he's been a superhero for a while. They don't specifically state how long. He didn't keep his promise to the doctor. He said he wouldn't do this because he probably felt he has a responsibility. Like the doctor even says at one point in the episode, as soon as he comes back from first meeting the doctor in the present day, and he comes home to the court, there's no baby, but then the doctor has him like, great power comes great responsibility. So yeah, he feels like he is owed. He doesn't know. He owes the city something because he has the powers. Why would you not use the powers? It could be of great use to help defending the city. When I'm thinking of that, it reminds me of the earlier Spider-Man films, the Tobey Maguire films. Oh god, that was a hit in the feels. Them films. So yeah. And he even say at one point, right at the end, when he's finally shot comes off the bomb, the spaceship bomb, he's actually left-handed. He's holding up, right-handed, seeing his instinct. It means he cares about the baby, even if there's something major going on. He still keeps the baby as his number one priority, unless it's something to do with Lucy. And then romantically ever after, and tells the doctor Lucy when she asks who he really is, Dr. Mysterio, which is the name he gives him earlier in his life, because it sounds cool. Lucy, there's not much to talk about. She's in love with Grant, doesn't really know it. She even says in the interview she has with the ghost, that makes it even worse. It's so ironic. I take him for granted. He does everything for me, no questions asked. And then, and she's trying to find out why the heck the doctor's doing it, and why the doctor's investigating Harmony Shore. And he tells Lucy what their intentions are. And she's asking him why he's doing this. Are you for an agency? Obviously he isn't. He's not usually interrogated. And he says, nothing, I'm just passing through. Oh no. thing. I'm just, yeah. And it's like, he doesn't care. It's obviously to do with whoever. Yeah. And when they, another thing to do with the interview at some point, it's like, yeah. Like Grant said, you usually have your little red dress on if you're going out on a date. And she does wear it, but she was concealing it from Grant. Yeah. And that, and also in the interview, he says it was really bugging her who was going on that date with Grant, because he said to her, like, well, yeah, I'm going on a date. It was really bugging her because she really cares about him, and that is pretty much it. Yeah, that's basically all the characters. The writing on this episode, I like the idea they tried to do. The execution wasn't that good. Like the final 5 minutes or so were really good. The final 5 or so minutes were good, where the Doctor had a speech there, and then Nardole had a speech, which is weird. He doesn't usually have a speech. You can see he'd only been on one episode before. But it's nice to have him say something emotional, because that doesn't really happen that much in Series 10. Not until the latter half anyway, so it's very rare. Yeah. I like the superhero thing they tried to do. But it could be written better. I want to say it's a rush, but I don't think it was a rush, because this came out immediately a year after The Husbands of River Song. There was no Doctor Who episodes in between, there was only Class. That was even written by Moffat, or even anything to do with Moffat, I think. So not much at all. I don't know what it is, it's just something. It smells a bit too cheap and tacky. It works on Christmas special. Yeah. But overall it's just nah, I don't know. Oh yeah, I like the Harmony Shaw appearing in this episode as well, because it connects into the last episode with Harmony Shaw being there. The species or the organisation's name, I don't know what it actually is. But yeah, it's interesting, and so that was a good thing. I like them connecting to Husband's River Song in another way. So for this episode, I would give it, I'm either going to say 5 or 6. I'm going to say 5 out of 10, even though there are good moments in it, it's not good enough. The good moments are not good enough to bring the episode up. If there's more good moments in it, or the good moments were better, then I could put it up to a 6, but I'm going to put it as a 5 out of 10, and I think that's it. So yeah, next time will be my review for Series 10, episode 13, Twice Upon a Time, Peter Capaldi's song. So yeah, that's what I've got to say. So adios everybody. See you for that review. This is Scarlet.